Welcome, everybody. Oh, man. Welcome, everybody, to the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings Pick6 and our free trial, RotoWire's free trial, rotowire.com/try for the free look behind our paywall. It is Friday, December 20th, 2024. Alex Barutha, Shannon McEwen, and Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard.
For the Friday listeners, we will not have a Friday show following next week's Christmas, which is on Wednesday. It's just a heads up there. You will not hear from us until after the new year. All right, last night we had a big game in Minnesota. Karl Anthony Towns and the Knicks go to Minnesota. Towns has 32, 20, and 6 on 10 of 12 shooting. The Knicks get a huge win, 133-107. Towns also hit a 5 from 3-point land. Knicks up to 17-10. Wolves had a really nice month of December, but on the whole season are now 14-12. Ken, any thoughts on these two squads?
Well, I mean, you want to overanalyze the whole Towns Randall trade, but boy, if I'm Minnesota, what I'm really scared about is Mike Conley, 37-year-old Mike Conley. He may have hit the wall. He's shooting 34% this season. He only had 18 minutes a run with a -19 plus-minus ratio. He shot 1 of 5. But this, they're already lost outside shooting, sending Towns to New York. But now Conley can't shoot. You really just got to pack the key against these Timberwolves because Ant-Man's the only guy that can hit from outside. So I'm actually mostly scared about Conley for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, they've been playing some more Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon. I don't know if that's going anywhere, but it's to your point, Ken.
Championship squads need good point guards, or at least average NBA point guard play.
Yeah. Shannon, we had a huge game. Went into overtime. Atlanta and San Antonio last night.
Yeah, Wemby with a monster performance, 42 points, 7 3-pointers, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks in a 133-126 OT win over the Hawks. He's the second player in NBA history to ever put together that stat line, Vince Carter being the other. Devin Vassell with his first start of the season, 23 points, 23, 4 and 2, 5 triples. The buy low window is firmly shut now. I highly doubt we see Vassell leave the starting lineup for the Spurs for the remainder of the season. And then the Spurs above 500, 14-13, 11th out of the West. Pretty, not terribly surprising, even though they had a horrible first season with Wemby. They really were far more competitive down the stretch. If you watch their games in February, March, late in the season, they were far more competitive than their record would have indicated. So it's nice to see them growing, and I expect better things for the second half of the season.
Yeah, they were hurt for big portions of the year, right? I mean, Sohan was out, Vassell. So they have their full squad essentially together. But you're right, Shannon. You bring Chris Paul in. Good things happen generally when you bring Chris Paul in. Wembanyama's probably still leading the defensive player of the year odds. I didn't check actually. But that game was a ton of fun last night. Wembanyama, the fourth quarter in overtime was ridiculous. He's hitting threes. He threw a alley-oop off the backboard to himself. It was a lot of fun.
How do you guard Wemby shooting a 3? I think it's literally impossible, right? Like,
how do you guard him shooting anything?
Anything but a 3. You're gonna fly out it's impossible.
Yeah. Take us to the Nets Raptors game, Ken.
Yeah, I doubt anyone watched this, but the Nets beat the Raptors in Toronto 101-94, despite no Dennis Schroeder, no Cam Thomas. Honestly, I'm just posting this to point out how correct Shannon is and how wrong I am. Fantasy gem Cam Johnson, 33 points, 10 rebounds, 6 dimes, and 2 blocks last night. Shannon is dominating our Cam versus Cam wager. Cam Thomas is currently hurt and looks like he's not coming back until January. So I probably should just buy Shannon the shirt now. I won't, but I probably should. Looks like Cam Johnson, fantasy gem is going to win our Cam versus Cam bet.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But, I'll say, taking a step back, you got to hand it to these Nets for being competitive. I know they're supposed to be fully tanking, but their coach has them really playing well. I'm impressed.
Yeah, Jordy Fernandez is ruining the tank, which
right.
is how you know he's a good coach.
Right. Good for Fernandez. I hesitate. Yeah, good for Fernandez.
Yes. We also had, an insane blowout in Dennis Schroeder's Warriors debut.
Mm-hmm.
We had Curry did not make a field goal, and Draymond Green had the Tony Snell, which was a 0.0 rebound, 0 assists, 0 threes. He did have 1 steal in his 19 minutes, but this was a complete blowout. I look, when I saw this game was a blowout, I didn't watch it, so I have to go back and try to figure out exactly what happened. I will say, to me, this tells you just as much about the Grizzlies as it does the Warriors.
Defense. They play defense. Sorry.
Yeah. Taylor Jenkins is one of the most underrated coaches in the NBA. He should certainly be in the Coach of the Year race. The fact that they have gotten to a 19-9 record with the injuries that they've had early in the season has probably fallen under the radar. It's just I think they're, I don't know if they're not a tier 1 contender in the West, but they're probably within that tier 2 in the West.
Shannon, what do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree. It's wild to me as well. Just in general, the Grizzlies, I feel like, are part of more blowouts than any other team. Last year they were getting blown out. This year they're blowing out others. Their point differential is plus 9.9, which ranks 3rd best in the NBA behind OKC and Cleveland. So they're even above Boston right now in their point differential. Just a wild team that's scoring a ton and playing very good defense.
Second place in the West.
To your point, Shannon, they are only one of 2 teams that has 3 teams that has 15 wins of 10 points or more. It's Memphis, Oklahoma City, and Cleveland. All of 15 wins by 10 points or more. So yeah, they are blowing teams out. Okay, Ken, let's move on to some fan feedback. We have a couple questions in the chat. It's actually about the same player.
Okay, yes, we do. Is it time to move on from Jaden Ivey? And I believe Ivey didn't play last night, did he, Shannon? What's going on there?
Yeah, back-to-back games he's been out now. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be a long-term injury for Ivey, but certainly deserves monitor. You have to monitor it, keep him on your bench. I sadly do not have him on my bench in our stake league. Did not make that move before rosters locked on Monday. That was the first game that he missed. It was a little bit unexpected when he missed Monday's game. He was a late scratch with the knee injury. And then he sat Thursday against the Jazz as well. That's led to Asar Thompson getting promoted to the starting lineup, even with Tobias Harris returning Thursday night. Thompson stuck in the lineup. Malik Beasley had a big night off the bench. I'm holding Ivey still. The really in a points-based format, he's better suited for that because his percentages are miserable. 43.6% from the floor, 73.1% from the line. That's really what's holding him back. But I can't justify dropping a player in most formats that's averaging 17, 4 and 4. He's getting 1 steal, 1.9 3-pointers per game. He's taken a mini leap this season. Certainly isn't the leap I expected, especially after his solid preseason showing, the first week of the season, essentially. But 17, 4 and 4, that's solid. There's fantasy value there. It's really the scoring that's lifting up his fantasy value. So if there's a better option that suits your categorical needs on the waiver wire, if you're in a 10-team league, I won't fault you for making that swap, but I don't think he's a flat out cut line across the board. It really is a case by case basis.
All right. Thank you, Shannon. Alex, let's go to Orlando, where George wants to know about Goga Bitadze, who I think had a double-double. He did 15 points, 10 rebounds, 3 dimes, and a block last night in the Magic's loss to the Thunder.
Yeah, George is asking if it's a sell high or do you ride it out? I think it's a sell high in the sense that I don't think it can get any better than this. So if you're trying to sell at peak, I think that's fine. At the same time, Wendell Carter Jr. is not proving to be a great option at center. Clearly, Jamal Mosley also still likes Mo Wagner. I think Bitadze is just their best center. So I would either I'm fine riding it out to answer your question. I think he can continue doing this for pretty much the entire season.
They got to make an improvement there. I mean, they stumbled through a hurt Carter and Bitadze last year. That seems like their most obvious. Jonathan Isaac's never going to be healthy. They seem like a donut squad.
Yeah, that's a. Well, and Shannon and I, we were talking about this on the RotoWire office, believe it or not. How many centers are actually available out there that teams are willing to trade, or like it's like Vucevic is out there, but that's a big contract, and it's like, do you really want Vucevic? And you don't want Ayton, right? You don't want to bring Ayton on this Orlando squad is like the literal exact opposite of culture match. It's oil and water, so it is hard to find a center upgrade in free agency or excuse me in the trade market.
All right, and then let's go on a player that I know Alex thinks about, probably frankly too much, but one of the Champagnie brothers in Washington is Justin, which I believe I always have to look this up. He's the one in Washington, I think. Justin Champagnie, still worth holding. I think he came off the bench last night for the Wizards.
He did. You're in a 15 cat league. That's crazy.
No, he did start last night. Sorry.
No, you're good. I think he is worth holding. So there's a couple things here, right? I mean, the Champagnie started playing more when the Wizards were extremely hurt. They had a ton of guys out. Guys came back.
Kuzma's still out, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Kuzma is still out, but he's sort of day to day. So Champagnie starts and plays 27 minutes, which is about 10 fewer than he had been playing. But he still put up 14 and 8 with 2 assists. Did not have a defensive stat, but that feels like more of an anomaly at this point. And if you're if you're in a 14 cat league, he doesn't really turn the ball over and he gets you a bunch of offensive rebounds. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I would hold and see what happens. My only overarching concern is that he's on a 2-way deal. He's not on a standard NBA contract. This has happened before where there have been some guys this season who've been on 2-way deals and they start playing really well and they just get upgraded to a standard contract because it's like, well, what are we doing with our final roster spot anyway? So I would hold for now and see what happens over the course of, like, let's say next week.
Yeah, we got Kuzma's health. We never know when Malcolm Brogdon's getting dealt off this team. Shannon, what you look like you had a thought.
I'm in agreement with Al. I'm holding them until Kuzma comes back or the minutes start to drop. But if he's playing 26, 27 minutes per game, whether it's starting like he has the past handful of games or coming off the bench, he's a hold given the production, especially in a 12-team, 15-cat league. It's most likely going to be dependent on Kuzma's health. Keyshawn George, keep an eye on him as well. He came off the bench. He and Brogdon both returned last night. But this Wizards team, it's very possible that they'll want to continue to lean on some of the younger guys and not really worry about Valanciunas, Kuzma, and Brogdon all that much because they're probably not going to be there for much longer either. Did
you see that Coulibaly dunk last night?
Yes. Yeah. It was delicious.
They got the win.
Yeah. 4th big W for the Wiz. Okay. One last question. I'm curious about this myself. Should folks be riding it out with Daniel Gafford in Dallas? He's decreasing minutes. He had a pretty crummy line last night in their loss to the Clippers. Thoughts on Gafford?
Any strong thoughts here, Shannon? I mean, he hasn't had a block in 3 straight games, and his minutes are declining.
Yeah, the minutes are declining. I've always been more of a Lively believer. I think this team, that's the direction they want to go. Gafford is appealing because even when he plays those limited minutes, a lot of times he'll put together a strong line. But as the minutes start to lower, I mean, it's 3 straight games with under 20 minutes. You've got Lively healthy. got PJ Washington healthy, who can slide to and play a small ball 5 as well. I will be very surprised. Basically, unless there's injuries, I don't think Gafford bounces back and starts playing 23, 24 minutes per game again. So he's going to pop off, have some productive nights, but in a 12-teamer, I'm looking for other options if there's solid waiver wire.
Something I do want to point out about this last game, especially the one that happened last night against the Clippers. No Doncic, no Kyrie. Gafford needs somebody to throw him the ball. Like, Gafford needs someone to lob him the ball, and so he's going to score 2 points if that's not the case. So last night's game, I wouldn't look into like more than any of these other games, but I agree with pretty much what Shannon said.
Okay, interesting. I think they're starting to like Najee Marshall there a little too. He's kind of eking into Gafford's minutes time. All right, gentlemen. Well, I think that's it for the fan feedback section. Take it away.
Waiver wire time. Yeah, waiver wire time, everybody. The meat of the sandwich. All right, for games next week, a lot of 4-game weeks. About half the teams playing 4 games. A bunch of teams with 3 games, but we do have 4 teams that only have 2 games next week. Cleveland, the LA Clippers, New Orleans Pelicans, and Sacramento Kings only have 2 games next week. So keep an eye on that if you've been streaming guys from those teams. I'm going to start things off actually with a suggestion for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Not necessarily a streamer for this week, but a medium to longer term option. Caris LeVert, who is only rostered in 25% of Yahoo leagues. Isaac Okoro is out 2+ weeks. I know Max Strus is going to get back in the rotation and start playing more. I still think LeVert is going to be, he's their 6th man at the end of the day. And the past 8 games, so LeVert was out for a little bit, but the past 8 games, which is when he returned from injury, 13 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. That's 25 fantasy points a game. It is like, that's fringe, that's fringe 12-team stuff. But he is one of those guys that you can hold and just wait for somebody to get hurt. Because if anybody on this Cleveland team gets hurt, especially a backcourt player, LeVert can come in, take more minutes and more usage, and then pop for you.
Yeah, he shoots better in points leagues. I don't know why he can't become a better free throw shooter. That's a little irritating. But we know this backcourt's had a lot of injury woes too. So he'll get big minutes sooner or later.
What do you got, Ken?
Well, first, fans, if you like our videos, please hit like and subscribe below, please. All right. I have someone we bring up all the time on the waiver wire, Obi Toppin of your Indiana Pacers. Yes, he's been fool's gold off the waiver wire for many years, but last 7 games, 15.5 points, almost 6.5 rebounds, 1.8 stocks. He's finally playing defense. 2.3 triples with great percentages. He's on a heater. He's playing D, and he's leading their second unit. Aaron Nesmith's absence has made Indy more reliant on Toppin, and Indy has 4 games next week. Toppin rostered in only 18% of leagues. Go grab him while he's on this heater.
The main thing I do want to point out about Toppin, you said that he has been fool's gold in the past and that he is shooting well. He shot 57% last year and 40% from 3. Mm-hmm. And the main thing this year, he was on a stretch where he didn't shoot a free throw for like 3 weeks. And he's just started being more aggressive offensively. Like his field goal attempts, his free throw, everything is up, right? It's not just hot shooting. His actual attempts are up. So that gives you a little more feeling that this is more real than it is a mirage.
And you know what? I stole that free agent pick from Alex last night. We were discussing cover guides for the video. I'm sick with a cold. I felt sorry for myself, and I just stole it.
All right, Shannon, what waiver wire suggestions did you steal this week?
All right, I'm going to start off with a guy we mentioned last week as kind of a bonus recommendation, but Gradey Dick, Toronto, guard forward, 47% rostered on Yahoo, 38% on ESPN. He just needs another nudge until he's well over 50% rostered. Scotty Barnes made a surprisingly quick return from an ankle injury last night. And even in Barnes' return, Dick still managed to finish with 19 points, 6 boards, 1 steal, 1 block, and 4 threes in 33 minutes. Even with Barnes back, Dick's worthy of rostering in any 12-team leagues, especially if you need points or threes. He's a hold for me until Quickly returns. And even then, I want to see what the rotation looks like with Quickly back. But Dick's been a great sneaky fantasy option this year and should remain on rosters.
I was shocked at Barnes' return last night. Probably should have mentioned that in the news. That was shocking to me.
Yeah, they definitely did not need to rush him back if you're Toronto, but
it looked
like
a bad injury. Maybe,
yeah, it did.
It looked terrible.
It did. Could have been a nerve, something that made it feel worse than it was. I don't know. But either way, yes, Shannon. Gradey Dick, the man just loves to shoot. He's just launching out there. So certainly add him in most leagues.
Alex, take us to last night's sort of fight in your waiver wire pickup.
Yeah, someone else who loves to chuck up shots. Jordan Clarkson in the Utah versus Detroit game got ejected last night for stancing up with Ron Holland. As you know,
they both were like this. They stance and back.
Yeah, that's the classic NBA where you both stance up and then you both take like 2 steps back very quickly. Yeah, so he got ejected last night after 2 good games. But I mean, look, people who've been playing fantasy, people who watch him, they know who Jordan Clarkson is. He's a microwave scorer. He handles the ball for Utah. When he's seeing at least 20 minutes in a game this season, he's averaging 16 points with 2 threes, 3.7 assists, 3.5 rebounds. That's 26 fantasy points per game. He's sort of in that same realm as Caris LeVert, where it's like you put him on your roster, keep him on your bench a lot of weeks. But then on a 4-game week, you put him in there because he's going to get you a ton of production. And then if someone else gets hurt, he'll see more usage and more minutes.
Jordan, the air fryer Clarkson, the microwave's already stolen. That nickname is owned by my boy Vinny Johnson and Ron Holland. Ron Holland officially became a Piston last night. Bad boys for life. Let's do this
with his. Why didn't Paul Reed get in the fight? Reed's the one that hit Clarkson.
Rolland was defending Reed. All right, he's just a good teammate.
Holland is shorter than Reed. Like if you're 6'9", you need the 6'4" guy to come over and fake fight for you.
Reed threw his body in there. He didn't do much. He threw his body in there though and
bumped him twice.
He knocked somebody around.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess he did have the only contact in that argument, but it was very much a non-NBA fight. To your point, Alex, it was the classic fight, non-NBA fight. Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to repeat a name out of Houston that I brought up before. How many times do I need to beg you to pick up Tari Eason, backup forward for the Houston Rockets? He is a stocks master. Stop focusing on just points. Eason averages 1.9 steals and 1 block a game, plus a triple. Didn't play last night due to injury management. He's been recovering from first a concussion and then a left leg injury. So he's down to 44% management levels. Grab him while you can. The Rockets have 4 games next week. Fully hope that Eason will be healthy next week, but you've got to check your waiver wire because when Eason healthy, he is a stocks master.
And if you're punting points and assists, which not that many people are, but if you are, Eason goes up to the 31st best fantasy player per game. So exactly to Ken's point, if you don't need offense on your fantasy team, you can certainly pick up Eason. Who you got?
All right. This is a name I did not expect to appear in this segment this season. Ben Simmons, guard for the Brooklyn Nets, 25% rostered on Yahoo, 14% rostered on ESPN. With Dennis Schroeder shipped off to the Warriors, Simmons is in line for an expanded role with the Nets. He has started back-to-back games since the Schroeder trade, and he's topped 30 minutes in both of those games. The first 2 games this season that Simmons has played over 30 minutes. The Nets have kind of played around with him, started him at center for some games this season. He's played some power forward for him as well, but now he's firmly the point guard. And he's thriving. He's doing well. 31 and 32 minutes in the first 2 games. Despite his many flaws, he can still be a solid fantasy contributor, especially in rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, and steals. Ben Simmons, definitely a 12-team ad. Maybe a deep 10-team ad.
Okay. If you're in a 9-cat league, do not look at the turnover.
Yeah. A lot of TOs. 5 TOs last night. Yeah.
Yeah. 11 in the past 2 games. But hey, I mean, look, who's he passing to anyway? You just gotta let him do his thing, fling the ball around the court.
His points of disinterest, 32 minutes last night, not 1 block, not 1 steal. That guy just doesn't care.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. But I don't know. He at least spices things up when you watch the games. He pushes the ball. He keeps them fun, especially when Nick Clarkson gets ejected for launching the ball into the stands and then almost throws a seat cushion onto the court. Bring me more Day'Ron Sharpe, please. That's what I care about. My final waiver wire suggestion, the new Robert Covington, Toumani Camara.
Your long shot. Your long shot.
Yeah, my long shot.
Yeah.
10% roster. He's a long shot, but if you've been rostering him in a 12-team league, that's been fine most of the season. Yeah, Shannon raises his hand.
He's getting the minutes.
He had a game the other night where he played 8 minutes. I don't know. I think Billups pulled him. I don't think that was an injury. Long story short, past 4 games for Toumani Camara, 11 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, but 1.5 steals, 1.3 blocks, 1.8 threes, and it's 28 fantasy points per game. More fantasy points over the past 4 games than either of LeVert or Clarkson, which I suggested earlier. So you can roster him in 12s. He is more of a category guy, but he's doing enough out there to where, regardless of your league type, he is worth rostering.
He's like the only guy with moxie in that lineup. If I can use an old person term. What happened to Shannon? Moxie. Like Ayton has 0 moxie.
Oh,
Simmons, no moxie.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, first of all, Portland got a win last night. They beat Denver. And Anthony Simons hits a game winner, but this Portland team, I mean, we've talked about it before. It's like this Portland team should be Scoot, Sharp, Klingon, right? Yeah. But they got 2 layers above those guys. They got Anthony Simons and Denny Avdia above those guys, and then they have Ayton and Jeremy Grant. So it's it's a tough rotation.
They really got to move Avdia and anyone else, any of those old guys at the deadline, because you're absolutely right, Alex. You know what? Let's make Alex the GM of the Portland Trailblazers. He would be awesome.
I'll take it. I will take it. I'll do it for half the money. I don't even know who the point. I'll take half the money. I'll do it for sure. All right, Ken, who is your last waiver wire suggestion?
My long shot is another old reliable name off the waiver wire, Larry Nance, who's rostered in only 3% of leagues. And there's a reason. He's coming off 12 DNPs, but suddenly the news is good in Atlanta for Larry. First of all, the Hawks have 4 games next week, but Onyeka Okongwu is out until at least the 28th and maybe into early January. We know Clint Capella's been struggling a bit all year. His numbers are a little down. Nance had 31 minutes last night, 21 points, 13 rebounds, 5 triples in that overtime loss to the Spurs Thursday. But yeah, also coming off a mysterious 12 did not plays. So really, I don't know what's going on there, but he's a long shot. I just see a lot of high ceiling here as the Hawks need minutes at center, and Larry Nance has always proved capable when played. You got any insights here, boys?
He's clearly been deployed as their 3rd string center all season, which is the reason why. And for a team that essentially has 2 de facto starting centers, that means a lot of DNPs for Larry Nance. He's not going to steal minutes from Jalen Johnson at the 4. That's for damn sure. So he'll get a lot more run this next week while Okongwu's out. So I like that suggestion, Ken.
When I was watching the Spurs Hawks game last night, the Spurs analysts kept being like, as Nance was having a great game, they kept being like, he had 12 DMPs in a row. They're like, this guy was not even playing, and now they just kept bringing it up, which was really funny. But we know he's a per minute guy. We know Nance can come in and do stuff. So that is. Please add.
He certainly adds a lot more floor spacing than their 2 other centers in Atlanta. I'll give him that.
Yeah. All right, Shan, give us another deep league suggestion. I love this one.
Yeah, my long shot rec for the week is Dru
Ooh.
Smith, guard for the Miami Heat, 2% rostered on Yahoo, 1% rostered on ESPN. Smith appears to have carved out a role in Miami's rotation. The 26-year-old guard has averaged 9 points, 2.8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2.3 steals per game in 30 minutes per over the past 4 contests. He's not going to do much on offense. He's essentially a poor man's Dyson Daniels. But if you're in a deep league, you need steals specifically. He just had 6 against the Pistons in the Pistons OT win over the Heat earlier this week. But it's really the minutes too. I mean, top in 30 minutes in 3 of the last 4 games. Certainly looks like Smith is going to be a part. And last but not least, Miami has 4 games next week.
If you're wondering who Dru Smith is, he is the guy that a couple years ago slipped off the raised Cavaliers court and tore his ACL. He like his knee, the Cavs court was like, a foot or whatever off the ground, and he slipped off of it and his knee just exploded. But to Shannon's point, Dru Smith's averaging, like, his entire career, it's over 2 steals per 36 minutes and about a block. So, like, that's the kind of guy, if he's going to get real minutes, like, you could certainly add him.
I mean, he's averaging a steal and a half now on 19 minutes a game. That's just crazy, Dan. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And honestly, Jimmy Butler trade happens.
Yeah.
What could happen minutes-wise in Miami?
We don't know. All right, that wraps it up for the waiver wire. We will transition into our DraftKings Pick 6 segment, but first, a word from Nick Whalen.
Here at RotoWire, we're proud to be partnered up with DraftKings Pick6 this NBA season. Think your team will score more than 100 points tonight? How about your favorite point guard making more than 4 3-pointers? Check out DraftKings Pick6, the newest way to play fantasy basketball and win cash with DraftKings. Here's how it works. All you got to do is pick 2 to 6 players of the same sport and choose if they'll have more or less of a given stat. So for hoops, we're talking points, assists, rebounds, etc. Lock in those picks, compete against opponents for your shot at huge cash prizes. Go download the new DraftKings Pick6 app right now and use our code ROTOPICK, ROTOPICK. That's code ROTOPICK for new Pick6 customers. Play $5, get $50 in Pick6 credits guaranteed. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick6 credits that expire in 30 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, DraftKings Pick 6 time. We have 3 games tonight on the Friday slate. Highest over-under, not even that really high. It's 222 Milwaukee at Cleveland. Great game, though. That'll be a lot of fun. Main injuries, as always, check the RotoWire's lineup page, but we do have only 3 games. So I will say Brandon Miller's questionable. Joel Embiid is questionable. Max Strus questionable. That's really about it. So it's really that Charlotte Philly game that you have to watch out for from a Pick 6 perspective. Anything jump off the page to you, Shannon?
Well, we've got Dame Lillard's been ruled out from Milwaukee, so I'm very interested. I'm very interested to see what Milwaukee does with the starting point guard spot, and also it just makes me want to lean more heavily on Giannis. Not a great matchup against Cleveland, but Giannis's hit rate for his points plus rebounds has been strong this year. It's at 43.5 currently for Friday night slate. We haven't projected for more than that, and I'm leaning on the more for Giannis as well. My question for you, Al, is who do the Bucks start at point guard? Because you have guys, they've mixed it up, right? You've got Ryan Rollins on the team still, DeLon Wright, but I really feel like based on recent games and the rotation recently, we're going to see AJ Green, who has been kind of that gunner, 3-point option coming off the bench. He's carved out a pretty significant role in the rotation. Does AJ Green get the spot start, or are they going to go with Wright or Rollins?
I could see. I mean, I could see Wright or Rollins getting like a nominal start here. But your point about AJ Green is completely right. Like, as a Bucks fan, to me, AJ Green is so clearly their best option, like a backup option in the backcourt. You can talk about Andre Jackson, has been great defensively as well. But if you need someone to fill in on offense, which is obviously what you need when Lillard is out, he's not really a point guard. He's out there launching threes, but he's a pretty good defender too. So, like, if you're talking about from like a pick six perspective, hey, I want to take a over on somebody or a more than on somebody, I would look towards AJ Green, because the reality is he's going to play 25 plus minutes regardless. So I think he has a really high floor and obviously a ceiling for more. But yeah, it tells you how the books feel about this matchup when the Cavs are 9-point favorites here in this game with Lillard out. I will say in this game as well, I gotta find the number quickly, but Brook Lopez, over 1.5 threes. I like that in this game. You know, they got Jared Allen protecting the paint. You know, he doesn't want to run out and cut off Lopez at the perimeter. And with no Dame, the Bucks have gone to Lopez at times more, sometimes more in the post. But either way, I do think it could be a good 3-point night for Lopez. Anything more from this game, or are you looking at the other games at this point?
No, we can check out the other games too. I mean, I am curious with like a couple of these matchups for tonight, like OKC, second game of a back-to-back. They also played in the NBA Cup final this week. I'm curious to see what their rotation looks like if they decide to sit any players for tonight's matchup against Miami. If they're at full strength, I like Hartenstein's points plus rebounds as well. It's at 22.5. He's basically been hitting 25 on a nightly basis for the points plus rebounds. They're running a lot of the offense through him. They're giving him some looks. He's been very impressive. I'm sure if you caught the NBA Cup, it's hard to walk away from watching that NBA Cup final and not being impressed by Hartenstein and what he's doing for OKC. I sadly was not on him as much as I should have been in fantasy this year.
Well, you know, we still need to see him with Holmgren, but I think he'll be great regardless. I think those guys are going to play a ton of minutes together. I will say in this game, you bring up a really good point about the Thunder's schedule, and they got the win last night in Orlando, which was a good win, but they are only 1-point favorites here on the road against Miami. When in theory, this team would probably be like 7-point favorites at home or something like that on like a normal schedule. But when I think about OKC, the main thing is just like their suffocating half-court defense, how well they generally play against opposing guards. So if I'm looking at something from this game, it would probably be Tyler Hero's unders, actually, or less thans. I would think about Tyler Hero less than 22.5 points. It's possible he just gets there through pure volume, as anybody can in the NBA if they get hot from three. But the Thunder have done a really good job against guards, so that would be something I would check out. You got anything else for us, Shannon?
Yeah, we'll go a couple more. I mean, Miami, OKC staying there. I like Jimmy Butler more, 17.5 points. Jimmy Butler's been inconsistent, but he's coming off an absolutely monster game against the Pistons, 35 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists, plus 5 stocks. One of the highest scoring fantasy point games of the season, 88 fantasy points. Like I said, Butler's been up and down this year. But he's still hitting 17.5 points. He's hitting that, at a good 70% clip this year. I expect him to get that even against a vaunted OKC defense. 1, you're at home. 2, OKC's playing the second game of a back-to-back. The third game for tonight, Philadelphia, Charlotte. It's same scenario or a similar scenario to OKC, where I'm very curious to see what Charlotte does with their rotation tonight. This is going to impact my DFS picks as well, because Charlotte played on Thursday, second game of a back-to-back, and multiple players in Charlotte's rotation have just recently returned from injury. LaMelo Ball has only been back for about 3 games. Bridges, I think, has only been back for 2 or 3 games. You already got Brandon Miller sat last night with an ankle injury, I believe, ankle or knee, one of the two. And it probably will sit out again tonight. So I would really want to see what Charlotte does. You could see some of those backups.
Richards.
Nick Richards.
That's actually where I'm going. I've got, Mark Williams is the other guy who long-term injury to start off the season. I'm assuming they're going to sit him on the second night of a back-to-back or play him even more limited minutes than they already do. And if Williams sits, I'm smashing Nick Richards. I'm gonna smash his overs in pick 6, and let's transition on over to DFS then, because Richards will absolutely be in my DraftKings lineup. He is $5,100 on DraftKings tonight. Again, it's all dependent on what this team does if they sit Williams. But if Williams is sitting, I like Richards a ton. Some other DFS options I already talked about with pick 6. I think Giannis is going to have a gigantic game with Dame out. He needs to for it to be a competitive game. Jimmy Butler. I like the competitive fire he showed earlier this week. He's had enough rest, should be in line for another big game. We've got some of these discount options. There's going to be numerous discount options on both the Bucks and most likely Charlotte, even possibly OKC. AJ Green, he's super cheap on DraftKings tonight. I think $3,500 range. Yeah, $3,600. Dru Smith, for Miami, 4,300. If you're building around Giannis's $11,300 salary, you're gonna have to plug in numerous options. So this is one of the nights where I tap Al on the shoulder 10 minutes before lock, and I say, do I start Jackson? Do I start Gary Trent? Which one of these bums from Milwaukee is gonna pop up tonight?
That's a question we as Bucks fans have been asking all season. Which one of these bums will pop off? But those are all great suggestions, Shannon. As always, don't forget to check the RotoWire lineups page. Don't forget to check we have a DFS optimizer. We have a million different tools you can check out, some of which might be behind the paywall, which you can unlock at rotowire.com/try. Before we go to Ken's Old Man Rant, Shannon I'll give Shannon the floor.
Yeah, so this week in Madison, there's a tragic school shooting. For any listeners or watchers who don't know, RotoWire's headquarters are in Madison. I'm in Madison right now. Alex is here as well. And that school shooting has impacted folks in my neighborhood. Some of the victims were in my neighborhood, and a few neighbors have launched a GoFundMe. So in the episode description for both the video and the audio show, we will post a link to that GoFundMe, and any way you can help would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, that is tough when, we live here. When you get the news, it always feels like it's going to happen somewhere else, But yeah, check the episode description for that GoFundMe. All right, Ken, we're going to bring you in here. For an old man rant.
Well, serious rant would be the number of guns in this country, but I won't do that. I will be silly instead. Give me a moment. Arg! Hey, NFL, back off Christmas. The NFL already dominates U.S. sports, and Thanksgiving is full of football all day. So, of course, the NFL gets greedy and wants to Grinch Christmas away from the NBA. Bah humbug. I don't want to see an AstroTurf-induced head trauma on Jesus' birthday. Christmas is on a Wednesday. That is not a football day. I'm not going to ignore my family on this holy day just to watch Taylor Swift in a luxury box and refs fixing things for Patrick Mahomes. Give me hoops. Arg.
Oh, man.
Totally agree, Ken. Thanksgiving is for football. Christmas has always been for basketball, much to the chagrin of anyone who I spend the holiday with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same here. The laptop will make an appearance at Christmas, as always.
Wednesday NFL? Wednesday NFL? Come on.
It's going to be every day sooner than later. Every day there's going to be an NFL game. Okay. I think we avoided any mispronounced names today. I feel like that segment, you guys have stepped up your games too much.
I think I screwed up Simons. I know it's a coin toss for me.
You might have said Bitadze instead of Bitadze, but that's
true.
You know,
those are some
he's only the best center on Orlando. I mean, there's no. All right, thank you everybody for joining us on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It is brought to you by DraftKings Pick6, and like I mentioned, the RotoWire free trial, rotowire.com/try. We have a million different tools for you to use season long, DFS, Pick6. Download the RotoWire Picks app. Whether you're on Android or iPhone, you should be able to just type that into your whatever app store you have. That Picks app is fantastic. Obviously, not just for basketball, for every sport. That's for all of our tools as well. I mean, I could probably speak for Ken and Shannon. We use those tools all the time, obviously, to do this work. So thank you. And we will not have a show again next week. So we will see you in a couple weeks. But Ken, take us out of here with a quote.
Yeah, let's go to Boston, where things got heated between the Celtics coach Joe Mazzulla and the refs in the Bulls upset last night in Boston. A few assistants and security guards had to hold back Coach Joe when asked post-game about the message Mazzulla was trying to deliver to the refs. Joe said in a completely straight face, quote, "Just Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Can't let a moment go by to where you wish someone the best to them and theirs." End quote. Attention passengers, this 3-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line. Here comes your Polar Express